If your rent is all paid up, why would you pay her?
I'm the type of person that don't want conflict.
Oh, no, you're the type of person who files a lawsuit and comes to the people's court. That's who you are.
This is the plaintiff, Olympia Lindsay. She says she overpaid rent to the defendant, and the nasty woman refuses to give her her money back. She was so nice to the defendant's elderly grandparents. She took care of them, and this is the thanks she gets? She's suing for $675 for all she's out. This is the defendant, Bianca Williams Miller. She says she provides housing for people going through crisis, and she rented a room to the plaintiff for a month. She certainly doesn't owe this woman any money because the plaintiff didn't pay her full rent, and she didn't show up for work taking care of her grandparents. So owe her? No way. She's accused of being a lousy landlord.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
The People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding.
All right, ladies. Ms. Lindsay, you are suing Ms. Miller for $675 that you say she owes you that you overpaid in rent. What was the deal between the two of you, and how did you two know each other?
My brother used to date her, and I went on Facebook, and I seen she rent rooms. So I called her, tried to get a room, and it was like really wary about the rooms. And the first room that I moved into didn't have no bedroom door, and there was a bunch of stuff in the room.
But did you see the room before you gave her the money?
No, ma'am. She sent me to another room, and it was up a lot of stairs. And
Does she have a lot of rooms?
A lot of houses, yeah, with different rooms, yes.
All right. So what kind of rentals do you do, Ms. Miller?
So I help people out that's in crisis that cannot afford to live in their own home due to financial, criminal background, just different circumstances, human trafficking, domestic violence, things like that.
How is it that you do that?
So I do it mainly through Facebook, Marketplace, caseworkers, social workers, and social service agencies.
All right. And so when you rent out, it's for what period of time?
It doesn't matter. I got some people...
Whatever the person says they need.
Depending on their circumstances.
All right, so that's what makes you a different kind of landlord, is that you will just do whatever that person needs for the time being.
Correct.
All right, so let me ask you, Ms. Lindsay, what's the agreement that you arrive at with Ms. Miller?
I was originally renting a room from her. I have no problem with renting a room.
And how much were you going to pay?
$500 or $450, whatever the room was.
Do you not know what the deal was?
I was paying $450 in May, and then the other room was $450 that I was going to move to, but she had asked me to take care of her grandparents.
No, before we get to the grandparents, how much were you going to pay in May?
$450.
All right, and then how much were you supposed to pay in June, or is that when the grandparent thing happened?
Yes, that's what.
All right, so according to you, she says to you, listen, my grandparents live X distance from here. If you move into an apartment where they are and take care of them, then I will knock off rent and you will only have to pay. Finish that sentence.
$100 a month.
Finish that sentence.
No, she would have to pay $400 a month.
Okay, and what was the actual rent for that place?
$500.
So you were going to pay her $100 to do what with your grandparents?
It would be about, I say 30 to 45 minutes just to change them and just get them some breakfast
okay.
In the morning.
And what was the rent in May? I didn't ask you that.
So the rent in May, she originally moved in, it was $400.
How much did she pay you in May? $400 or $450?
$400. I didn't even charge her a security deposit because I knew of her situation. She's always been homeless and unstable.
Okay, can I just ask you then, if I'm already paying $400 at your place, why would I want to pay the same $400 and take care of your grandparents at another place?
Because I was giving her a price break because the rooms was bigger. And
okay, so that's the answer, because that room is bigger?
Yes, the rooms was bigger.
All right, and so do you guys have anything in writing?
No, this is, we
How
have
about
some
text?
stuff.
I want to get to the bottom of what the agreement was, not just hear both of you say what it was. I want to see text that can prove to me what the agreement was if they exist.
There is no text.
So we are in the position now where you say it's one thing, you say it's another. What ends up happening in June? According to you, the rent is only 100?
Yes.
Okay,
She
what
said
day
it
do
was
you move
100.
into the grandparents? June 3rd?
June 3rd.
Then you can explain to me why it is that you sent her 150 on June
She
3rd.
told me $50 to use the truck to move my furniture.
Okay.
Because the original house.
But then you send her more money in June, don't you?
Yes.
Why?
Because she called me and she was like, I need another $100.
When did she send you that?
She told me verbally on the 8th.
Well, then, but if your rent is all paid up, why would you pay her?
I'm the type of person that don't want conflict.
Oh, no, you're the type of person who files a lawsuit and comes to the people's court. That's who you are. So I'm not sure about what you just said. So why do you pay her another, how much more did you pay her on June 8th?
The month of June, I gave her $350 off.
Okay, that doesn't sound like the actions of a person who struck a deal that their rent was only 100.
It was 100.
No, I know you can keep saying that, but I need you to address what I'm addressing, which is that doesn't sound like a person who had a deal to pay only 100. That sounds like a person who had a deal to pay. Tell me the payments because I don't think there's any disagreement about this. The payments you receive in June. On June 3rd, you get 150, and 50 of that was for the trailer.
No, that was for
You didn't
rent.
charge her for the trailer?
I never charged her for the
Okay,
trailer.
so you're
That
actually
was
giving
for-
her credit for rent.
Yes.
All right, so June 3rd, and then June 8th, she sends you how much?
June 8th, I believe she sent me another $100.
Okay, now, why aren't there texts? Don't you guys text?
No, so we was doing this just through, I believe that was Chime.
No, I know that's how the payments happen. My question is, aren't you saying, hey, I need more rent?
No, because we already had the agreement that she was.
So there's no conversation whatsoever?
No, because.
So June 8th, it's another 100, and then when again does she pay in June?
I believe the next following week she paid another $100.
What day, do you know?
June 22nd.
That's the next payment after June 8th is June 22nd?
And that was towards July rent.
Okay, no, I don't know, because it's in
Because
June,
my
but how
birthday was
much did you pay June 22nd?
I gave her $100.
And did you make a memo saying this is towards July rent?
Yes.
Did you in
Yes,
the payment?
It's in my Chime.
Just a second. All it says is June 22nd rent. Where does it say that that's towards July?
I said.
So then the answer is no, it doesn't say. There's no memo that says it's for July, right?
No.
Oh, okay, because that's different than what you said a second ago.
I told her.
June 22nd. You told her how? Verbally again?
It-
There's not a single text between you two? Come on.
It's Texas between us.
Okay, let me see your phone, because she wouldn't show me the text, so I want to see your phone and what that says, Queen.
Okay. Come on.
Yeah, there's a lot of text, but unfortunately, they're all video chats that, missed the call. None of them tell me what the deal was between the two of you. You have a complaint about how she took care of your parents, right?
Correct.
What is your complaint?
Sometimes I will have to come, or I will have to pay out of my pocket for another worker to come over there to do these jobs that I told her, or we both agreed to do, changing them and giving them some breakfast. It could be oatmeal, it could be eggs, it could be sausages, whatever, and that was it. She could go back to sleep, or she could go to her next job. So what happened is she would get up 8, 9, 10 o'clock. One do it, I come in, or my grandmother will call me. She didn't come down. She didn't do this. She didn't do that. I said, okay, I will either go do it, or I have someone else come there and do it.
So at some point you tell her, listen, from here on in, just pay the rent.
Correct.
And the rent, according to you, was going to be $500.
Correct.
For that space.
Correct.
All right. Did she ever try to move back to the original space?
No, she did not. Once I told her that, you know what, it's not going to work. We could just go back to you renting a room. The room would be $500. The original fee for the room is $500. I wasn't going to give her a break anymore for $400 because she was no longer taking care of my grandmother.
And what did she say when you told her that?
So she said, well, the problem what had occurred was I moved another individual upstairs in another room because there's 2 rooms upstairs. And she wakes up one day and she said, well, why would you let somebody move upstairs when I told you I could have rented both of the rooms? If you're already having trouble paying me $400 a month, why would I get...
Never had trouble paying my rent. I have 2 jobs.
Okay, go on.
if you're already struggling to pay me rent or barely going to work to cover the rent for one room, why would I give you 2 rooms, which she wanted to have the entire upstairs? So she got mad and she said, well, I just can't do this. You should have told me that you was going to rent out the other room because I could have paid you for the room.
Okay, were you going to rent? Can I ask you a question? How were you? I'm sorry. Wait, I have a question.
Okay.
How were you going to pay for 2 rooms if you were kind of in crisis? And
Whatever she's saying is a lie, for starters.
okay, how were
It
you?
really is,
How
because
were
I
you
have
going to pay
2
for 2?
jobs.
Right, but wasn't this like a temporary situation that you had to get really quick? And
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
I've been looking for me somewhere because the last room and house I was in, it was with men. I'm uncomfortable with being in a home with men. So she was like, okay, the first house she didn't even show me the house. She parked the car somewhere, got the money, then sent me to the house. Then I was like,
well,
no,
don't give her the money till you see the house. I mean, that's really
Exactly.
within your no, not exactly. I'm disagreeing with you. Like, if I'm going to rent something, I don't complain that I didn't get to see it before I paid money. I don't pay money before I get to see it. You see, it's up to you.
The same way, but by me knowing her.
What does
I
knowing
was
her have
okay.
to do with it? That has nothing to do with it. You're deciding if you like the place, if you want the place, the size of the place, the area it's in, the people who also live in the place. You know, you're deciding things that have nothing to do with whether you like her. See, I have a she said.
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue which of you is lying, but I know one of you is, because it can't be both things. The rent can't be 100 and also 400. So I know either one or both of you are lying about what the rent is, okay? I'm the trier of fact. There's no jury here, and I've got to decide what the truth is. So you guys have to give me the tools to decide what the truth is.
Mm-hmm.
So where do I go? First, I look for something in writing. Then I look for something which you guys don't realize is writing, which is texts, right? You guys don't realize that that's a memorialization that's good enough for court. So I'm trying to figure out what the deal was between the two of you through the text. Can't do it that way either. So now what I've got to do is the good old-fashioned stuff that judges used to do before the gods invented texts. And that's figure it out from the actions of the litigants. So what are the actions of the litigants? You're paying more than what you're saying, and you're accepting more than what you're saying, and you're paying it through the month. So you want me to look at that and say, but that was just because she was putting a gun to your head and making you, because you're not a litigious person. And you just don't want to fight. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So I am not going to find that she owes you overpayment, because I am hard-pressed to find that that was an overpayment. Now I'd like to talk to you about the rest of the stuff that you're suing for. The $50 for a trailer, which she says she loaned you without charging you, right?
Without
So, but why? But if you agree, wait. If your position is you were supposed to pay $50 to rent it, why would you get that back?
I had to pay $100 to move my furniture out the house on the 25th of July.
But I thought it was you who decided you didn't want to stay there.
No, it wasn't me. I told her I didn't want to work for her no more because it's
Right.
making me, I worked 2 jobs and I was being late for work every day because I'm extra sleeping because I was getting migraines. I have anemic.
Okay.
And I was just hospitalized for it.
Okay.
And
So you told her you didn't want to work for that apartment anymore, and therefore
no, I said I didn't want to work. I wanted to keep the house.
for the same price of $100.
$500.
For
She
$500.
told- Yeah.
Okay.
But she was like, this room is for the help, and you're not the help. And then as I started to move my stuff out, they was moving my stuff out the room, like literally.
Who was?
I don't know, because I was moving my stuff into my storage.
All right, but you're telling me it was your decision to no longer have the deal you did have.
Yes.
You wanted a different deal, and she said no.
I didn't want. I wanted to just pay rent. I was fine with just paying for my
Okay.
room.
Now talk
But
to
she
me
wanted
about
to
the
help me.
faucet, the gloves, the plunger, and the key.
When I first got to the room, moved in her parents' house, she gave me the key. I paid $5 at Walmart to get the key made. July 4th, they had a party at the house, and they messed up the toilet. So on the 22nd, I went and bought a plunger. June before my birthday, I bought a faucet and a toilet seat, and I had my male friend try to put it in for me.
Okay, did you take those with you when you
No,
left?
ma'am.
Okay, so there's the faucet.
It's still there.
Okay, what about the gloves?
I used them.
Okay, where's the plunger?
It's in the downstairs bathroom.
Okay, and then did you return the key?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have actual receipts for the faucet, gloves, plunger, and the key?
All my receipts is in my little drawer thing in storage.
I know, but why didn't you go to the storage and bring me proof
I
of it?
work 7 days a week, 2 jobs.
Okay, and I appreciate that. It's just that you then have to appreciate the position you put me in.
I'm fine with it.
Okay,
all
right.
I'm always fine with anything. I'm a Cancer. I let everything fly by. So if I don't
Okay, let me
win,
give you a suggestion though. If you have a deal for $100 in rent, don't pay more. That has nothing to do with being a Cancer. That's just.
People normally walk all over me, so.
Gosh, I don't want to believe that.
They do, because she did, and she's lying, saying I just lost my house that I've been in for 4 years in January.
I'm sorry to hear that.
In January. So, and I'm always in a tight situation. I done had plenty of houses. She don't know me like that. My brother came and stayed with me when she called herself putting him out. And he could tell you, I keep houses.
Okay.
Beautiful houses.
Okay. I'm based on the evidence that I have heard, though, I cannot rule in your favor on the overpayment because I am not finding, when you come into court, you're the one with the burden of proof. That means you've got to prove what you're saying. The plaintiff, in every case, has to prove what they're saying because they're starting the lawsuit and they're saying, hey, this isn't the deal we had, and you're unable to prove that you had the deal you say you had because there is literally not a shred of evidence showing it, and if anything, the evidence shows otherwise because you are paying more than that. As for the other items, I would need to see actual receipts for those items, which I am also not seeing.
That's okay, Judge.
And I have no choice in this case but to rule in favor of the defendant. Thank you, ladies. Good luck.
Thank you. Hold on, ladies, please.
So the plaintiff failed to prove her case. She just simply didn't have any kind of evidence to convince the judge she should prevail. Let's see how she responds. Look, the problem is you didn't have anything in writing. So have you learned anything about this case at all?
Yes, get everything in writing, use text. Some I need to learn how to do, but I'm
Well,
okay
listen,
with
let me
it.
ask you this. Do you think she was lying about you? Do you think you took care of her grandparents like you were supposed to?
Yes, I did a very good job. I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't like for somebody to mess with my name like that. That was sad. Don't do me like that. God don't like ugly.
God don't like ugly. I
really don't.
I understand that. All right, let's see what the defendant has to say about this. Bottom line here is have you learned anything from this whole incident with Ms. Lousey?
Yes, don't do business with friends and family, and also keep everything in writing and stick to my leases no matter what the situation is.
And with that, we will bring this case to a close. Harvey, interesting dispute here. What do you think about it? Let me hear your take.
Well, Doug, look, there is nothing in writing about this specific payment arrangement, even though there is something in writing. And that really leads me to something, which is that if you have a contract with somebody, and then you make an adjustment to the contract, and the two of you talk and say, well, let's do it this way instead of that way, put it in writing. If you start out with something in writing, amend it in writing. Don't rely on an oral representation. It will get you in trouble.
We have a noise ordinance that there can be no unnecessary noise in residential areas between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. My next-door neighbors work on their cars from 10:30 p.m. until 3:45 a.m. and keep me up at night. I've talked to them many times and kept a log of the dates and times. The police are no help. Can I sue?
Yes, you can sue. But, there are other things you could do. Like, if they're doing that from 3:30 in the morning until 7 a.m. or whatever it is, you might want to play your own music really loud at like 8 a.m. Put like death metal on, like Cannibal Corpse or something just dreadful.
When they're sleeping?
Right. Or maybe play a song that you can't get out of your head. Like
the Candy Man
by Sammy Davis Jr. Play it real loud. Right? And
because they're working, she said, from 10:30 to 3:45, right. So put it on once they go to...
you won't be violating the noise ordinance because you're outside the noise ordinance.
All right, but why don't we do something a little different?
Right.
Why don't we, if the police are no help,
right.
And it's very hard for the police to do something about this.
Although if you have an HOA, they're usually really helpful.
Right, but what you need to do is you need to get evidence. That means you should be taping them, taping them whenever there's, if you get one of those Ring cameras, if you can afford that, and you can have the Ring camera.
Maybe giving them emails, phone calls, written complaints that you can document as well.
Yeah, but what you really are going to need is not to prove that you've asked them to cut it out. Yeah. You're going to need proof that they're doing it. So if you have because you don't want to stay up and tape them. So if you can have one of those cameras that are motion activated and you can aim it towards them and you can get the evidence that you need that they're in fact doing this in the middle of the night, it'll be a lot easier for you to prove. So yes, you can sue, but you're going to have to prove that they're being noisy.
Exactly. And you're talking about a common law nuisance action, probably, that you can bring in any state. And if they interfere with your enjoyment of your property to the extent that you can't sleep or you can't do the kind of things you normally do at home, you got an actionable case.
Sure.
And you just might get some traction.
It's always going to come down to the proof. You can't just whine and then they say, oh, no, we didn't. You have to have the proof. So the key thing is to video and audio, so you can hear that it's too noisy.
Right.
This is the plaintiff, Sean. He says his car was towed to the defendant's shop, and when he went to retrieve his belongings, his PlayStation 5 was missing from the trunk. The defendant says he has video cameras in the place, but when he asked to see the footage, he was told no. Even the cops can't force him to show the videos. Bottom line, he's out $800 and is suing for just that today. This is the defendant, William Mattis. He says the plaintiff came to clean out the car because it was totaled, and then called the next day claiming he was missing a PlayStation. Why didn't the guy notice it was missing the day before when he cleaned the car out? He thinks the guy's making all of this up and is trying to take advantage of him, but he didn't steal a thing, and he thinks the judge will agree. He's accused of playing games.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says that the defendant towed his car, and when it was in the defendant's tow yard, his PlayStation went missing and wants the defendant to pay up. But the defendant says the guy came to clean out his car because it was totaled and then called the next day complaining about his missing PlayStation. It's the case of you're done playing games.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Sean, you are suing Mr. Mattis's tow company for $800 because, according to you, they stole a PS5 from the trunk. Tell me what happened.
The vehicle was involved in an accident when my nephew was driving on somewhere around midnight that Saturday, March 19th.
And how old is your nephew, you said?
21.
All right, go on.
At work, I received the call, so I went and met them on the highways. Pretty busy highway where we live. A lot of damage, really dark, pretty dangerous spot. So we were just in a rush to kind of get out of the traffic. So pulled the vehicle over, got the police report, went home. Pretty upset about it.
Now, the vehicle that your nephew was driving, was that drivable?
No, it was not.
No, okay. When that was going to be towed, that happened in front of you?
Yes.
All right.
I came to pick the kids up.
I mean, when I'm dropping off a car at a shop or when my car's going to be towed, the first thing I do is take everything out of it. What happened with that?
To be honest with you, I was really in my feelings about the accident, and like I said, I was at work, so I kind of rushed from work, came there.
What were you doing? What do you do for a living that you were at work at midnight?
We do security services.
Okay, but you're there, and was anything taken from the trunk?
No, nothing was taken from the trunk.
Was anything taken from the car, or did everybody just leave everything inside the car?
No, my nephew did go, because we had picked up the PS5 maybe an hour or two before the accident. We picked it up from a reseller, and they had initially put it in the trunk. But I mean, not in the trunk, in the back seat. And I asked them to put it in the trunk in the event if they ever parked or whatever, because I know he's going to get my nephew. I don't know if he's going to step inside.
Why is it in there at all? Like, I'm curious.
Because I was going to work. We met the reseller before I was headed to work. And my other nephew was coming from work to go get another nephew from work. I know, it sounds a little crazy.
No, it's fine. I'm just trying to understand why it's in the car when your nephew's borrowing your car.
Well, the purpose was when we picked it up from the reseller, he was going to pick up my other nephew from work. I was going to work. So pick up the nephew from work, make sure you put it in the house when you get home. But he never made it home because they got into the accident. So
I take it when you're there, you don't remember that you had arranged to have a PS5 in the trunk?
No, honestly, I was just so upset about the accident.
And your nephew, who had, according to you, moved the PS5 from the back seat to the trunk and is in charge of emptying out the car before it gets, he also doesn't remember that he put a PS5 in the trunk.
Yes. he moved it from the back seat to the trunk before we left from each other. At the point of sale, hey, he put it in the back seat. I said, no,
So there's
don't
two
leave it there.
people.
Put it in the
There's
trunk.
at least two people on the scene who are supposed to know that they put a PS5 in the trunk.
Yes, that
and
is
neither
accurate.
of you, when you're collecting stuff from the car and it's about to be towed, say, wait, we got a
didn't go
PS5
in.
in the trunk. All right. So now you go to the tow place on Monday, is it?
Monday, March
Okay.
21st, yes.
Which is what, the day after the accident?
2 days after.
2 days
So,
after the accident.
Yeah, sadly. Yeah.
And when you go, it's in order to do what?
To see if the car was salvageable, because again, it was late at night when the accident occurred. At which point we went and checked the damage. We said, I'm gonna take out the Easy Pass. I did clean out the trunk and the cabin, take the things that were important to me. Again, PS5 never got to my mind. It wasn't until March 23rd, my nephew Thomas's birthday, who we bought the PS5 for. Oh, we got to wrap it. I said, hold up. I asked my nephew, I said, where's the PS5? I know we had picked it up. He go, oh, it's in the trunk of the car. I'm like, I didn't see it. Called the tow yard. Hey, there was supposed to be a PS5 in that trunk. We left it. I remember seeing the black bag that it was in. I remember, but I don't remember getting the PS5.
You remember seeing the black bag when?
First time and came back the second time on the 23rd.
Okay, the Monday that you go after the accident, did you see a garbage bag?
Yes.
Well, how did your light bulb not turn on about a PS5 then?
It honestly didn't. Listen, I asked myself this question a million times.
I bet your wife asked you a couple of times too, right? Yeah. All right, so
Mom, grandma, everyone involved, because we all chipped in on it.
Yeah. Now, you on the 23rd, which is now how many days after the Monday?
2.
Okay, you call them and say, hey,
birthday.
where's a PS5 that was in the trunk? And what do they say?
I asked them if they could please run the cameras and see if maybe someone hopped their gate or broke onto their premise and took something out that car, maybe any of the cars, because I know for a fact it was in there because I put it in there. I made sure I tell my nephew to take it from the back seat to the trunk. I know it was in there for a fact. I still see the black garbage bag.
Right, and
that it was
I
in.
need to trust you that you know it was in there for a fact, but in the 2 times when you're responsible for emptying the car, neither time do you know that it was in there for a fact. That's the part that's a little bit disturbing. Let me hear from you, Mr. Mattis. He asks you to do what?
Okay, Judge. Someone called on Monday, March 21st, and they wanted to come pick up the car. So we told them the car most likely is totaled. They should contact their insurance company. And they said that they wanted to come down at least to look and get some personal property from the car. He came down with the driver of the car and the registered owner.
Who's the registered owner?
I don't want to say her name, but...
Oh, but it's not him? It's not Mr.
No.
It's not
No,
Mr.
ma'am.
Sean? Okay, go on.
So they came down. We allowed them access to the car. Now, we didn't have keys for the car. The car was locked. So at the time of the tow, we didn't have the key. So they came down on Monday, and they took everything out of the car, and they said they were going to leave the key, and they were going to contact the insurance company, and that's what they did.
And then when did you hear from him that, hey, there's a problem, where's the PS5?
Okay, on Wednesday, March 23rd, the plaintiff showed up unannounced and said, hey, I forgot a PS5 in the trunk. And I had said to him, well, you and the registered owner came down on Monday and took everything out of the car. And he said, yeah, but we forgot this PS5. And I said, well, I can't allow the plaintiff access because he's not the registered owner. So
But you
he
allowed
said,
him access before.
with the registered owner.
Oh, the first time he was with the
Right.
registered owner, who
Yes,
is
ma'am.
who? The missus? Who's the registered owner, Mr. Sean?
The missus, and she was not there the first time. He actually accompanied me.
I've got a copy of the registered owner's driver's license to show that she was.
Put it up to the screen. Let me see that. Is that the missus?
Yeah.
Oh, how would he have that if she wasn't with you that first time then? Let's get off of that point and let's move on and ask you about this. Tell me, when he on Wednesday says there was a PS5, doesn't he also ask you, I'd really like to see the video?
Yes, Judge, that was on Wednesday. And what I did when the plaintiff was there is I went to the car by myself to just check again to see if there was anything in the car, and there was nothing in the car. I mean, the car was clean, the interior was clean, the trunk was clean. We had the keys at that point on Wednesday because they dropped them off the prior Monday, and there was nothing in the car. The car was cleaned out. Nothing was left in the car. Nothing.
Okay.
I looked under the seats.
Okay, but now I want you to work with me a second. So he says, hey, listen, there was a PS5. And I understand that your initial reaction is to belly laugh because they've had 2 opportunities to clean out the car. However, why don't you let him look at the tapes?
The tapes weren't working at the time the car was towed.
How do you know?
They were disconnected.
Why were they disconnected? What's the point of them if you're not having them running?
We were moving from that facility the following weekend. We moved out of there.
I know, but normally you wouldn't unplug them until you're moving. So why is it that they're not working?
We moved the system to our new location.
So there were no systems. I don't understand.
Just the camera head, but not the actual equipment to video.
Ah, okay. And why weren't you able to tell him that the first time he talked to you? Because apparently he comes back after that Wednesday, right?
Yes, Judge.
How many times has he come back?
I believe it was one time after that Wednesday.
All right. Now, at another moment before he shows up there, he calls, right? And speaks to somebody other than you.
Correct. He's called multiple times.
Right.
Looking for a different result.
Right. And what he's looking for is to be able to see video. And is he ever told, well, I don't know, we'll get back to you?
Yes, Judge.
By whom?
The other person that's in charge of the yard. We have a yard person that handles all of the incoming and outgoing cars.
So why didn't that person, I don't know why you're snickering, because you have a really, really tough case to prove, Mr. Sean. Why didn't that person say, well, we don't have cameras because we've been moving?
I can't speak for the other person, Judge. I just know the facts of the case. And at the time of the accident...
Did you ever look at any tapes?
No.
Okay, and were the police ever called there?
After March 23rd, yes.
All right, and why are the police called?
The plaintiff called the police.
Oh, okay. And why did you call the police, Mr. Sean?
Because when he came in, the gentleman, I confronted him about the PS5.
Is that this gentleman or a different gentleman?
No, another gentleman that works at the yard.
Okay.
Confronted about the PS5, them hanging up on me, and no one ever getting back to me about the PS5 that was stolen. To which point he pushed me and then pulled out a taser. I thought it was a gun, but it was a taser, and began shocking me.
How did he push you?
Just like this, double
With his
hand,
two
right
hands?
in my chest.
How?
Yes.
Normally these guys are behind a plexiglass.
He was coming in the yard. So as soon as you come in, the door, you kind of meet right there. So little half door and from the exit door. So they 1 foot, maybe 2 feet max for him to get from one door to the other.
And
so when he opens the door, I'm right there.
So he opens the door. He's on the inside and he's opening the door to walk outside?
No, he's on the outside coming
he's on
in.
The
I'm
outside,
already inside.
Trying to come inside. And are you already inside or are you outside also?
I'm inside already.
You're inside. He opens the door and what happens?
I said, brother, good evening. How are you? I'm the guy that's been calling about my PS5. Were you the one that hung up on me? Someone's supposed to be getting back to me about running these cameras, and you guys give me the runaround. I need those cameras. And he says, get out my way. I said, I don't have to move. I'm asking you a question. Were you the one that hung up on me? Why hasn't anyone gotten back to me? At which point he pushed me, and then he pulled out the taser, and he started shocking me.
Were you there when this stuff happens, Mr. Mattis?
Yes, Judge.
What happened?
The plaintiff called repeatedly. I couldn't tell you how many times, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. And he was getting the same answer. We didn't take the PlayStation 5. We don't have it. We've been conducting business at the same location for 20 years. There's somebody there 24 hours a day. There was nobody that jumped the fence. There's nobody that broke into his car. It just doesn't happen. So he kept calling over and over, disrupting the business. So our yard guy hung up on him. That's why he came there the time after the Wednesday.
How long after the hang-up did he go there?
It was the same day.
Okay, and then what happened? The next
day or the same day. He was very belligerent. He was very aggressive. He wanted to see the cameras. He said he wasn't leaving. I had told him at that point, which was 2 weeks after the tow, that the cameras weren't working. He said, oh, that's the BS. It's not true. He wants to know, what am I going to do about the missing PlayStation? I told him nothing. And when the yard guy was coming in, our waiting area is small. The plaintiff wouldn't move. They're both bigger guys. So we have a half door that we conduct business over, not like plexiglass. So they just were chest to chest, and they were arguing. And the plaintiff was saying, "You're the one that hung up on me," started cursing. And the yard guy said, "Look, I just need to get through." And he just wouldn't let him through. So the yard guy had a taser in his pocket, and he reached all the way to the right just to make it known, and he let it go off. When it went off, the plaintiff moved out of the way.
Did the plaintiff actually get tased? Did you actually get tased, Mr. Sean?
No,
no. Okay. All right. So you call the police, and what happens, Mr. Sean?
Police come, asked me what occurred. Of course, they tried to say they were fearful of their life. That's why he had to pull out the taser and defend himself. They told me that they couldn't force them to show me the cameras, but they will take a police report. Some of these businesses are very sketchy, but that's not their call to make. I just have to go through the judicial process.
Okay. But, Mr. Sean, what evidence do you have that they stole the PS5?
Unfortunately, I have none other than the fact that I know was in there.
Right. And so that's what we're going on, right? Do you have a receipt 100%. For the PS5?
No, as I told you before,
okay,
we
so
bought
you
it from
have
a
no.
reseller.
I understand. So you have no receipt for the PS5. You are telling me that the way you know it was in there is because you know it was in there.
Yes,
and you and I both know that twice, at the scene of the accident and then later on the Monday, you, who are positive it was in there, never take it, even though you have access to go in. But I'm supposed to presume that they're a bunch of thieves and hoodlums who stole your PS5. And, the proof's just not there. My verdict in this case is for the defendant.
Thank you, Judge.
Well, unfortunately, the plaintiff didn't have the proof he needed to convince the judge that he should prevail, so the plaintiff does not prevail. If you'd have had a receipt for it or something, it would have helped you. But I'm sorry.
Sir.
And you
appreciate you.
You just don't. You don't prevail. Mr. Mateus, does this happen very often to guys like you, who run a yard like that, where you get accused of taking things?
Not so much anymore, but lately, as of the last 6 months, people start to complain.
That's a pretty interesting case. Harvey, what are your thoughts?
Okay, Doug. So look, the plaintiff had 2 opportunities to check this and get the PlayStation back. Didn't take advantage of it. There's something in the law where if you sit on your hands and you don't take action, at a point, it's on you. Even if you would have had a claim going in, if you delay too long, you're going to lose.
Judge Marilyn, if you live in Florida and North Carolina, where's your southern accent? I was born in Texas and lived in Florida and Georgia, and I've lived in Oregon since 1980. Everyone mentions my accent. Where's yours?
Well, I was actually born in Queens, in New York.
Astoria.
Yes, and I moved to Florida when I was 8.
Right.
So, and everyone used to make fun of my New York accent back then. I remember being self-conscious about it. But I lost that pretty quickly. And people in Miami's just a suburb of New York, really.
Right.
We're not exactly Southern.
That's
we're
true.
more.
And in fact, Miami almost has its own dialect.
It has its own lilt.
50 years of Hispanic population, the Latino population has influenced the way people speak, I think, throughout
even non-Spanish speakers who are not Hispanic have a certain lilt.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
You can hear it in some letters, usually maybe L's and R's or something. There's a little something there.
Right.
I totally agree. Plus, with you, there's the Spanglish, which you are always...
I have no idea what you're saying.
You do it all the time. I call it Cubonics.
Cubonics?
You know how it is, this little...
Yeah, some things are just better said in our lingo.